punchline. I'm your comic strip critic, and we are still in the middle of Reuben season. Last episode, we took a look at all the different nominees for Best Newspaper Comic Strip and Panel, and this time around we're putting a different set of nominees under the spotlight. These are the nominees for the Outstanding Cartoonist of the Year, and there are 4 nominees this year. And I have 3 screens. Of course. It's the highest, most coveted award in cartooning, and once again, 4 newspaper comic cartoonists were nominated for the honor. The nominees for the 2013 Outstanding Cartoonist of the Year award are Wiley Miller, Stefan Pass, Hilary Price, and Mark Tutuli. We've looked at a number of these cartoonists before on the Punchline, but there's one that hasn't been introduced to us yet. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce you to Wiley Miller. In 1992, Wiley Miller's daily comic strip NonSequitur began its syndicated run. It is a very unique and very bizarre strip. Part comedy, part social commentary, part satire, and part whatever the heck it wants to be, NonSequitur has a very large and diverse cast of characters. I'd arguably pin the main character to be Dana, a young girl with a heavily pessimistic streak, with lots of harebrained schemes and adventures. Imagine a cross between Calvin and Wednesday Addams, and you're really not all that far off. Her dad wearily puts up with her antics, and her sister is her foil, bright, bubbly, and in love with pink. And the rest of the cast is certainly nothing to ignore. The crew at this local bar is always fun to see. Eddie the Sailor always has some outlandish tale to tell in a wildly overblown Boston accent. Flo wearily puts up with his antics. Huh. Isn't that a funny coincidence? There's a lot more that makes NonSequitur interesting, though. Most notably are the Sunday strips. Wiley Miller, it would seem, agrees with Bill Watterson that the standard layout options of Sunday comics are too constrictive. See, most cartoonists are given a limited number of panels to draw their artwork in, which can then be arranged around in any desired format that the newspaper editors want for their particular comics page. Watterson, after much arguing, managed to get one solid rectangle that he could do whatever he wanted with, which he used to great artistic effect. Miller, however, didn't get that same style of rectangle. Instead, he got a long vertical strip for his Sundays. And like Bill Watterson, he's used it to great effect, telling months-long epic stories. NonSequitur has received a lot of praise, having previously won Best Strip in 1992, making it the only comic to have won the Reuben in its debut year, and Best Panel in 1995, 1996, and 1998, making it the only comic to have won both Best Panel and Best Strip. Now I officially have no clue what the dividing line between the two is. Yeah, sure, put it on the back burner. NonSequitur is definitely a good comic, and it makes Wiley Miller a solid contender for this year's award. Longtime viewers may recall that I've talked about this comic before, and no, we're not using that running gag again in this episode. And Stefan Pass has been great with his work. Pearls Before Swine is funnier than ever recently, because Pass has apparently made it his personal mission to slap moral guardians silly while laughing at them. I've often made note of the fact that cartoonists have a whole lot of difficulty using these very common everyday phrases such as "this sucks." So when Stefan Pass has his characters using the phrase "smart ass" in a completely legitimate context, as in he's talking about a donkey with a doctorate, I can just imagine him sitting there at his cartooning board with the biggest, evilest troll face known to cartooning on his smile. He's enjoying this way too much. I am shocked he's been able to get away with it. And I am so happy. In addition to his work on Pearls Before Swine, Pastis has continued to work on the Timmy Failure novels, releasing the second in the series. Timmy Failure, now look what you've done. It's a funny read. Timmy is still a clueless, arrogant, egotistical detective with a pet polar bear who constantly gets over his head into trouble. Really funny stuff. Pastis has continued his signature style of overly bright and cheerful artwork with greatly contrasting cynical and highly intelligent writing, making for a wonderfully unique style. There's a reason why Pearls is at the top of my Go Comics page, and why it won the Outstanding Comic Strip Reuben Award in 2003 and 2006. Rhymes with Orange was talked about during last year's Reuben season. It was one of the nominees for, and was in fact the winner of, the Outstanding Newspaper Comic Panel. Hilary Price also won that same award in 2007 and 2009. It's like a number of panel comics. A gag-a-day strip in the same style as The Far Side, The Argyle Sweater, Bizarro, and many more. The most unique feature of Rhymes with Orange is the title card that appears on the left side of the Monday through Saturday comics. It very much reminds me of something from an old silent movie from the 20s or 30s, the kind of thing you see Charlie Chaplin using. It's a unique stylistic touch. Hilary Price has also done cartooning work for a number of magazines, including Parade, The Funny Times, People, and Glamour. What I find particularly curious is that she draws her comic out of a repurposed toothbrush factory, where other artists work and where she holds seminars on coming up with comedic ideas for cartoonists. I'm glad to see her helping out the younger generation. And our final nominee is Mark Tutuli. Regular viewers of The Punchline are familiar with his comic Leo, a delightfully dark comedy. But that's not the only comic he does. I have yet to mention his other comic strip, Heart of the City. Heart of the City is a wildly different comic from Leo, in writing style, atmosphere, and artwork. The main character Heart is an energetic young drama queen who is seen with her friends Dean and Kat, worrying about school grades, and generally living life as though she belongs on the red carpet. I enjoy Heart of the City, in part because it's so very rare to have an artist working on two strips that are so drastically different from each other. With most other cartoonists who work on two comics, Jim Davis with Garfield and U.S. Acres, Johnny Hart and his crew with BC and the Wizard of Id, Mort and Greg Walker with Beetle Bailey and High and Lois, it's very easy to see the similarities in art and writing style. But comparing Leo with Heart of the City, there are more differences than there are similarities. The artwork in Heart has bigger eyes and button noses. There's actual dialogue, and it takes place in the standard 3 or 4 panel format rather than Leo's wavy single panel. The fact that we can get two radically different styles from the same man is great. And that's not all that Mark Tutuli has been up to. Like Stefan Pass, he's been writing young children's novels. The quickest, if sloppiest way to describe Desmond Puckett is like a more realistically grounded, somewhat aged up Leo. Desmond actually talks, has friends, and sadly can't play life with death, but he is a monster movie and special effect fanatic. Hey, wait a minute, that sounds familiar. I sadly can't find a copy of either Desmond Puckett book around where I live, but the sample chapters online are excellent reads. And, as if that's still not enough for him, Tutuli also works for the TV shows Trading Spaces and A Wedding Story, having won 3 Emmy Awards. I'm convinced that the man owns a time turner to get all of his work done. Mark, don't forget your family, I'm sure they miss you! So, having outlined all of our nominees, let's get down to brass tacks and see which of these cartoonists is the most Reuben Award worthy. And let me just make one thing clear again in case you missed it last time. I am not biased. Shut up. Of the 4 nominees, I'm afraid I'm going to have to cut Hilary Price out of the running pretty quickly. The artwork that she puts out, simply on a level of style and detail, just can't compete with any of the other nominees. It's like throwing Peter Dinklage into the ring with 3 Andre the Giants. It's just not fair to her at all. And I'm going to be eliminating Wiley Miller pretty quickly as well. NonSequitur's artwork is fantastic, NonSequitur's writing is outstanding, and if this were nominated for Best Comic Strip or Panel, it would have a far stronger chance of winning. But NonSequitur is the only bullet Wiley currently has loaded in his gun, and that one single bullet can't beat the fully loaded 6-shooters that Tutuli and Passes are both packing. These top 2 cartoonists are both excellent. The artwork for both of them is lively, the writing in both of them, even the comic that technically doesn't have any writing, is outstanding, and the fact that they're both bringing novels to the table takes this year from just any other yearly Reuben contest to an epic throwdown for the heavyweight championship title. but in my mind, it's still pretty clear who should walk away with the Reuben Award. I'm going to be voting for Mark Tutuli. Much like how the Pajama Diaries managed to earn my vote for Best Comic Strip, Mark Tutuli is simply bringing a much larger variety to the table than Pastis is this year. In a one-on-one showdown between Pearls Before Swine and Leo, or Pearls and Heart of the City, it'd be a much more difficult decision to make. But having Pearls and Timmy go up against Leo, Desmond, and Heart of the City, Mark Tutuli's not just packing any old 6-shooter in this showdown. He's using Dirty Harry's .44 Magnum, and the Magnum shoots thunderbolts. Mark Tutuli brings not just the most artwork, but the best artwork to the table this year, and that makes him more than deserving of the 2013 Reuben Award for the Outstanding Cartoonist of the Year. Let me know what you thought of my decision down in the comments or on Facebook or Twitter. I'd love to know what you think. I'll be attending the Reuben Awards myself this year, so I'll be sure to give you an update as soon as I can from San Diego. Until that day comes, though, I'm your comic strip critic, and I am off to the Reuben Awards.